本日は LJL2020 サマースプリットウィーク5まもなく次の試合 V3 スポーツバースデトネーションフォーカスミの試合が始まろうとしております。しかしその前に一つお知らせが
Getting right back into things. This is going to be my first time doing all 8 games in one day. As you can probably hear, my voice is already starting to strain a bit, so I will do the best I can. Although I don't know how long I will last. All of that being said, we do have V3 versus DFM up here for Game 5, and this is going to be an exciting one, and one worth sticking around for. V3 Esports has been on an absolute tear. The last of the undefeated summer splits across, I believe, all regions, with the fall of the... I forget the VCS team's name. I did not get to look it up in the break. Also C9 as well in NA, and with V5 in the LPL, all of which not quite able to pull out an undefeated split. That being said, I am really looking forward to this game in particular. V3 has been on such a tear of just dominant performance over the region, and it really comes down to a lot of Boogie having such a deeper understanding of jungle alongside Ace, who they have this beautiful synergy around their mid-jungle duo that it's been nigh on impossible for most other teams to overcome it, as well as with Boogie being such an individually great jungler. It offers so much more play route, where you expect the mid jungle duo to have a lot of potency, and so you might choose to play around that. But Boogie is totally comfortable playing around multiple lanes. He has a huge champion repertoire, and he really puts the pedal to the metal when you give him carry champions like Nidalee. And even Graves, he's had outstanding performances on. So, something that we definitely enjoy seeing from V3. And on the subject of DFM, if you did get to watch, I did put a video up on my thoughts on DFM as a whole, and how they have found themselves at the unfortunate position of being 4-4 in the split so far. While they have decent chances to make playoffs, and most likely will, entering at the bottom of the bracket is not what you expect from the champion the past 3 splits running. The only team in the LJL to acquire a win at an international event. Their first win was back in 2018, where they beat Kaboom Esports and were able to qualify there. But this is the team with history behind them. This is the team that is the household LJL team name. Saros has his own titles, is referred to as the Faker of Japan, but as of recent, overall, DFM have been looking disjointed, both with their drafts and with their in-game play. There's been so many times where we've just seen DFM kind of not respecting their opponents enough to know the limits of their comp, walking right into just awful plays, or just being disconnected on engages that they would otherwise... that you would otherwise expect their team to be on the same page about. The other thing I worry about when you're looking at DFM is the first 2 weeks, when DFM was online only, or when LJL was online only, DFM had a much worse performance than when they showed up for the later ends of the split. And when they showed up offline, they looked a lot better, and we were a lot more, overall, we were a lot more pleased with how they were stacking up. That being said, you're back to online. V3 has retained an undefeated record that whole time, and You would hope that DFM have taken these 2 weeks and fixed whatever their issues were. And if you're asking for specifics, I do think partially it is draft issues. There was a couple times where DFM just had very awkward drafts where their carries were like a Zareth Senna, and it was just not working out to have enough damage or enough sustain. But more specifically, when DFM even figured out the drafting style that they wanted, they very much like a catch comp with Twisted Fate in the mid lane and things to that effect. While that is rather popular in the LJL right now, and the DFM kind of, you could argue, were ones that pushed that into the meta here, it hasn't always been clean, and I think they were, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Twisted Fate is 2-1. I think they did drop a game on it earlier on. And the worrying thing that I look at is you found one comp and you're making it work, and I'm happy for that if for the fans of DFM, but this is a team I would expect to be pulling out different comps and being able to roll with any punch that is thrown at them and sort of assert themselves on the LJL. But as it seems this split, the LJL teams have just kind of all gotten better, while DFM, I don't want to say they've been stagnant, but they play like a team that is too used to winning. They play like a team that is used to expecting things to just kind of fall in their lap and to make plays happen purely by virtue of good punishes on a couple mistakes and DFM being overall very solid team. I think individually their players are still solid. I don't think they have any huge issues in their individual play. The micro that DFM have is still very solid. It's just the team coordination and the situations that they find themselves in, either through draft mistakes or through DFM outright just not playing on the same page or not playing the comps as effectively as they need to. Most notably in their game against CGA, there was a game where they let Seros have his Heimerdinger, which is a staple pick of his, but then they walked themselves into situations where they needed to push forward and the Heimerdinger was just not going to cut it, and every time they tried to advance, they got smacked on the nose for it. And against a team like V3, that's a hard slap to take, as V3 has just been showing up in force all across the split so far. If a team is to dethrone V3 Esports, right now it's definitely feeling like DFM's time, if they're on as big of an upward path as we like to hope. But it will remain to be seen, as V3, their playoff spot is pretty much locked in. They don't have too much to worry about in that department now. Set and Volibear both going to be meeting the ban table right away. Karma most likely to be reaching the ban table as well, as Karma has been, I believe, perma-banned all games this week. And there it is, coming in from the side of V3 Esports, and this is sort of the interesting point that I think comes out with V3 Esports, is that V3 has kind of been the only team that you look at and you are seeing consistently better drafts than most of the LJL. The LJL definitely suffers from an overall lack of efficient drafting. Just a couple times we'll see just picks go haywire in one direction or another, but I think draft will be very telling in this kind of a game, and with Twisted Fate banned away this time by DFM, perhaps they have a couple picks that they've been able to practice during the off weeks. We'll see what they want, what they try and set up here, as V3 first up to bat, and Ash likely going to be first picked here, as she has been on the priority list so far in the LJL. And that leaves DFM with a couple options. The nice thing for DFM that they have is they could easily draft themselves into a poke comp if they want to grab up a Varus and a Zoe here. Both champions still on the table. Bard as well being looked at. The Tempered Fate has been utilized so effectively by so many teams today, so not surprised to be seeing that one picked up here. And I feel like if DFM don't draft up a Zoe here, I wouldn't be surprised to see it be picked up by V3 Esports, but Ezreal being looked at, trying to lock in that carry position. Does offer the same amount of poke as the or a similar style of damage portfolio in the poke-centered idea as a Varus, but we'll see what V3 have to say about things. Trundle hasn't been seen on the Rift too much recently, and could be returning here with the ban of the Volibear. Unless V3 have a couple picks up their sleeves. Galio, very popular for Ace and will be locked in right away, but does also have potential to be flexed towards the support lane if they end up needing it down there, and is not a bad option as it's a lot of CC to be able to dish out onto a Bard, which is habitually a bit more immobile. Plus, at that point, Reyna can easily take the Aftershock, and it becomes very easy to kind of ignore Ezreal's damage while you're just focusing down a Bard. But a Nautilus being locked in with V3 Esports means likely will be that Galio sent into the mid lane. Now, DFM have a couple ideas here of what they could be choosing next. They can lock in a jungler and hopefully try to pinch away at Boogie's jungle pool, but they also have to worry about a couple mid lane bans being thrown their way if DFM don't lock in a mid laner here. And with the Trundle lock in, it looks like they will be targeting that jungle position, while V3 can try to set up a little bit better lanes for Galio in the mid lane. You can remove things like Azir or even Syndra, which Syndra has been a champion that we have seen a lot more often banned or ignored than actually picked up. We did see a couple of Syndras earlier on in the split with mixed success, but as diving kind of fell off in the LJL and hasn't been quite as popular overall, it's not a bad idea for V3 Esports to be looking at things like a Lulu ban if that was going to the mid lane. Although actually, now that I'm really thinking about it, the Lulu ban is somewhat something that you would expect to get abused by a Galio mid having that gank set up on. But takes it away all the same. The support items, of course, did receive a couple buffs recently and have kind of... We've seen sort of a pivot in the meta of like a lot of jungle or a lot of lanes giving attention towards those jungle items, especially with them being so cheap. It's very easy for supports to kind of get their hands on. Well, V3 have one more pick to get rid of. I'm still banking on an Azir ban, but perhaps V3 feel prepared to play into it. Heimerdinger is going to be locked in here. And this could mean potentially that V3 are looking for a couple dive options if they want to take away that defensive pick from DFM. As DFM have one pick to be locked in here. Ziggs, another poke mid laner. Zoe is still open, so is a little bit interesting, but Seros, of course, does like his Ziggs. Gives it extra turret taking potential, which we have seen Seros as a big fan of. So the question will be on to V3. What will the follow-up be? Could see things like a Wukong coming in if they want to move over to more of a dive-heavy threat. Although Ornn offers a bit of long-range engage and sets up their team fight nicely. And with one final pick for V3 Esports, how will they be rounding out their comp? There are a lot of tools that they can use to protect this Ashe and get her to do as much damage as possible, while also DFM drafting themselves into a poke comp, but leaving Ornn open is kind of walking themselves into a potential counter where the long-range engage makes it very easy to get on top of the poke-oriented champions, but Boogie locking in the Kha'Zix, where I would have thought that the Q buff on Kha'Zix is not exactly too impactful. The LJL are starting to try and prove me wrong here, as Boogie's going to be locking that one in. And hopefully have some assassin work to be doing. He will have his work cut out for him, as those are a couple members that are really hard to get on top of if you are a Kha'Zix in this game. That being said, Evi locking in the Vladimir for the top lane, hoping to add a bit of scaling assurance to the side of DFM. Doesn't offer too much in the way of poke comp, but can kind of... The benefit for the Vladimir is that he can kind of circumvent the Galio's engage. He can use W to get back and then hopefully find his way onto Archer and harass him, or potentially knock him out, as Archer is sort of the main focus of damage coming out from V3 side of things. And with V3 having their comp set up in DFM, I do kind of like that there is a bit of a complete damage portfolio on the side of DFM. Trundle sets up great zone control for Ziggs and Ezreal to just buy out time to throw spells, do damage, and Tempered Fate as well kind of can work to deter or catch out members once they're low and trying to retreat. The Vladimir kind of sticks out like a sore thumb to me, as I typically don't like to see Vladimirs being picked into things like Galio. Sure, you can dodge out on his CC, but you are never going to do enough damage to him. And if this Vlad is going to try and get onto the Ashe alone, because the rest of his team is not exactly a comp that can follow him up very good, Kha'Zix gets isolation bonus and will happily just eat up a Vladimir on the opposite end of the map. So it sort of potentially validates a Kha'Zix here if Boogie kind of tries to play his style a little bit more reactionary. You can see from the stats here exactly the dominant performance that V3 has had over these past few weeks. 30% converted into kills or assists is actually quite a huge stat, as V3 doesn't often let members get away from them, but has honestly just played so cleanly throughout these past couple weeks, and we'll be hopefully seeing them continue, as they're the last undefeated team of realistically the world, to my knowledge. I would need to check on Taiwan, as that's the only that's the only region that I don't know the most about. But V3 have quite the mantle to bear. And hopefully we'll have the execution to do so. Meanwhile, on the side of DFM's things, I'm very curious to see how they come back from these 2 weeks. You had a long 2 weeks to really research, watch back your VODs, and figure out what's going wrong for you to wind up 4-4 in the split. I'd love to see DFM bounce back and to resume the glory and the throne that they once owned. That being said, I wouldn't be 100% honest with myself if I said that I didn't enjoy that new teams were coming up to try and scramble for this one, as V3 Esports have been putting on a spectacle of the past few weeks.
まあだけではないとは思うんですけども、かなりその V3 スポーツというのはメタに敏感ですよね。今回のカジックスもそうですけれども。
And I think V3, I think Boogie has the potential to make this Kha'Zix pick work, and this is probably a pick that we should be talking more of in the LJL, as this is going to be the third game we've seen it, second team to have played it, where a lot of other teams might look at Kha'Zix and be willing to pass it over. Perhaps some teams are seeing the carry potential within the cause.
さあ始まりました LJL2020 サマースプリットウィーク5ゲーム 5V3 スポーツ vs デトネーションフォーカスミースタートです。
And as we start things up here, fairly traditional runes all the way across, although the one thing I look at immediately is Boogie actually opting for the phase rush on the Kha'Zix, taking Nimbus Cloak as well. Will mean no electrocute to add on to that damage, but Boogie possibly feeling a little bit confident that he'll be able to get enough of an early advantage that it won't be needed. That being said, it also, the phase rush on Kha'Zix specifically possibly would mean that we're going to see him leveling up or evolving his R, which does give him extra time invisible. That's a lot of extra move speed that you get to navigate around fights in your true stealth and find your way onto a couple key members while Paz and Eva are going to find each other out in the river there. Drops a ward from Eva. And we're off to the races. Trundle is starting leashless on the other end of the map, while Boogie is going to be going red to chickens. Likely will be trying to go the 4 camp to 3 route before finally finishing up on the top side, as that's likely going to be the lane he has the most pressure on, as well as mid lane. If Zeros does not play carefully enough, is fairly proficient at using the satchel charge to get out of gank opportunities. But this gank setup coming out from a Galio is just so potent. And honestly, all I can really say is that I'm looking with expectant eyes at DFM, and really how they play this game out will be very... I'm very interested to be seeing, just because they have such a record to uphold. As a hook from Reyna's gonna get a little bit of trade there onto the members of DFM. Utapon taking a little bit of damage there, but with a health pot and Biscuit in tow, not exactly too worried. As Saros looking for a little bit of a chunk of his own. There's going to be Steel rotating around here. Ace has Flash available, but doesn't need to be worrying about that one. He's going to go all in on his Steel because he knows Boogie's coming. Throws down the taunt as Saros throws out the Q. Not going to quite finish him off. Boogie should be able to get first blood here. I don't think he'll be able to get away. He does have Flash, so will actually be getting away from that one. Saros not enough mana to finish him off in the end. And that's that mid-jungle 2v2 that we mentioned earlier, where Ace and Boogie just are so potent together. Beautiful communication to make the turn on to Trundle. Immediate call out from Boogie that says, we know who we need to go for here. Ace flashed away from the bouncing grenade that Saros has. Although that's not bouncing grenade, that is Jin's Q. As you can just see here, once this gank is spotted out, Ace makes the call to go in, throws everything he can at Steel, and forces Steel to flash away. I'm a little bit surprised that Steel didn't flash forward there to try and finish off Ace. He likely would have been able to get the kill and then just go 1-for-1 at that point. But flashing away means Ace will get away to safety. And that will mean first blood over to V3 Esports, as well as giving it over to Boogie. It's a potentially harrowing sign of things to come for the side of V3. Or excuse me, for the side of DFM. Much to the benefit of V3 Esports, and Speaking of benefit, they do have a slight CS lead in this bottom lane of things, as Archer's doing his best to try and get this lane under turret. He says, I'm sick of looking at it. I need to back. Trying to get it all the way shoved in. Udapon will be able to collect up on that one, help even out that CS lead. And while the CS lead will benefit Evi for now, potential gank coming in might mean that CS lead will be for naught. Evi still has some powered Q. No knockup potential for Pause yet. He doesn't exactly have enough mana, but he can't go in for a flash auto. Does not have the opportunity, but Boogie's going to follow him through. Flash auto, it is. Not with the brittle proc, though. It'll just be enough for Boogie to find the isolation damage. Once he's away from the minions, he takes so much extra damage from the Kazakhs there. And his flash is not going to save him in the end. That is going to be Boogie picking up the second kill. And that was another example of the phase rush coming in to help him keep pace with Evi there. DFM looked to try to trade the Drake on the other end of the map, but that's going to be Pause, I believe, off the teleport. Here he comes. Not level 6 just yet, but as a dragon goes down, DFM are going to be routed here. Steel trades his life for one Cloud Drake. And that's going to be 2-0 on the Kazakhs, and Archer picking up a free kill for himself. Not a bad deal if you are V3 Esports, but DFM taking that first Drake and having it be a Cloud Drake might serve to their benefit a little bit later on if they are able to completely capitalize and hopefully be that extra step closer to Soul. Which when it is the Cloud Soul first, or Cloud Drake first, you are a little bit more eager about the souls to come. That being said, you don't exactly want to be putting yourself this far on the back foot just yet. With Steel being 0-2. The last thing you need is Boogie blowing up your one frontline carry from the Trundle there. Of course, a lot of the inherent value of Trundle is in the pillar and the subjugate, which he can throw onto Pause to help steal a little bit of tanky stats for himself. But almost reaching a 2k gold advantage this early on, V3 are in the driver's seat for this one. As Ace is going to wander over here. He hits the vision cone. Not going to spot out Steel along his path, but we'll get info on the camps. Hawkshot's going to spot all 3 camps, so they have a good idea, and you can see the pings. And this is what I'm talking about when I go over, and I promise I'm not going to gush. I always gush about V3 Esports, but this is what I'm talking about, where V3 Esports just have such a superior knowledge of jungle. Boogie, his tracking is out of this world, and when you have lanes that he's communicating with to get information onto DFM, now they know where Steel is beat for beat for the next couple minutes. And that's going to be enough for V3 to just have to rotate up Reyna to potentially look at this Rift Herald. And there's not a whole lot DFM can really do, as it's going to be taken right out from under them. Pings coming out. It looks like DFM are going to try to see what they can get in pressure on the bot side of things, while Archer's hanging out there by himself. We'll be able to pick up a bit of solo XP, and is rather safe. It's very hard to solo engage a spell, especially with no Tempered Fate just yet. But Boogie's happy to be picking that one up, especially when you're only rotating a support over for it. You're not losing too much, and it gives you potential to snowball one of your lanes a little bit harder. As Saros throws the grenade over there to grab up the blue buff. Boogie thinking of an opportunity on the top side here. Seeing what Evi does. Pause has ultimate available, so we'll be able to throw that down if he so chooses. Try to see if they can force pool before Boogie has to show. It's a little bit harder, a little bit easier said than done, as they might just be waiting for the lane to get under turret. Pause is doing everything he can to force pool from Evi, and he is holding on to it. He knows it's something up, but right now he's just taking a whole heck of a lot of damage from the combo here. That's going to be the Ram flying in, but now Evi's caught under turret and is slowly running out of creeps. Boogie has an opportunity to be going for the dive here. There's no pool and no Zhonya's to speak of. He throws down the ultimate to see what he can do, but that's going to be Boogie just one auto away. Pause flying away, or dropping the aggro in while the bomb flies up. Archer even shot his arrow for good measure, but dead to rights before it got there. That's going to be another kill, and that's sort of the issue of Vladimir, is that while you are safe in the 1v1 versus Pause, you're not exactly too concerned about going down. You have enough sustain. You're so gankable on Vladimir without pool, and Pause just on this Ornn offers so much gank potential. Just layer upon layer of CC, as well as just enough damage to really just force his will on Evi. He was in his face. He said, use your pool, use your pool. I'm just going to keep smacking you until you use your pool. And Evi held it the entire time to no real benefit, as he's just as diveable immediately after. As for now, Boogie just gets bigger and bigger. The Infernal Drake coming up here is likely going to be one that V3 want. You don't exactly want to give 2 Drakes over if you don't have to. And V3, knowing that, are looking for an opportunity, but Steel's going to be the one getting the first gank up. Ace has flash, but it's getting kind of bounced around here. Not going to be able to flash out in time, and Boogie's just a little bit too late on the reaction there. That is going to be a free kill, as Tempered Fate's going to land his way onto Archer, but will he just be able to escape on that one? Full sum, so they're just going to kite this one backwards if Reyna is able to survive. Flash forward from Steel. The Subjugate's already gone down, so Reyna's going to live out on that one in the end, and that might mean that V3 are not going to be able to take this Infernal Drake. They will just spawn up the Rift Herald in the mid lane. A good leap from Boogie there to dodge out on that one. Aceros is taking an interesting path back to the mid lane. Going to get chunked down to about half HP for that one, and the arrow's going to fly down towards the bottom side as Galio's looking to make a play happen, coming hot off this teleport. And Steel, once again, is going to be trading his life for a Drake. Boogie's going to be trying to get this kill, hopefully snowball himself a little bit further along. That's going to be Boogie. 4-0 and well and far ahead of this game. You're dropping another Drake, which is a little bit unfortunate, but with Mountain Drakes on the menu and a bit of a gold advantage on your side, you're hoping that you're just going to be able to stack up those Drakes in the meantime, give up those first 2 Drakes for kill advantages, build up a little bit of a gold lead, as it's only going to get harder from here for DFM to be taking these objectives. I really like what V3 did there, where DFM kind of got a little bit greedy in what they chose to do. They got the pick onto Ace, and they said to themselves, okay, this should be a free Drake. And Seros, it was already a greedy decision to try and walk back to the mid lane right away and try and save it, because you're really doing that only because you don't want to give that much gold over while still you can't have your cake and eat it too. But he just took the greediest path right in front of everyone on V3, and they almost looked at him like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, where's the rest of your team? He gets chunked out to half HP, and that is immediately V3's call to say, no, arrow back towards a Drake, we're teleporting in on this, we're going to find a kill or 2 around this. They didn't come up with stealing back the Infernal Drake, but they do end up killing Steel, knocking him down a peg. And that's the kind of punish you need against DFM, who are going to play that greedy. You cannot let them get away with that sort of thing. As Reyna's going for that ward there, a beautiful Q there is actually gonna get him out to safety, while Udapon's in a bit deep there. I actually don't know how Udapon got there. I think he teleported for a flank, as Reyna's just getting harassed by Gang in the battle of supports here. But ultimately not too much to come of it, while Boogie is on the opposite end of the map here. We'll be slowly awaiting that Herald spawn, but Archer's going to be forced to flash over the wall here. Not exactly too concerned about death with flash available right there, but that is a lot of members on this side of the map, and a lot of zone control for this turret. As Ace might be trying to shove in this lane onto the mid lane here, just seeing if he can force members around the map, pulling them up towards pulling them back towards the mid lane gives pressure back to his bot lane to walk up and save their turret. So DFM, again, kind of getting pulled around the map here by V3, who seem to have them on a little bit of a leash right now, as DFM are attempting to hold on to all that they love in the way of turrets. But Boogie, with the Rift Herald now, that's one charge away from dead. And no members of DFM are exactly close enough. Gang is here and can't throw Tempered Fate onto the turret to maybe buy it some time, but not exactly worth it. The turret just will go down in the end. Nice little gold steroid over to Boogie and Ace in the mid lane. So now they're walking right in onto the members of DFM. They're going to eat a Tempered Fate, and they might just go down here, but the stun's not actually going to land, as Ace will get the taunt, and that will be the call to back away. Udapon a little bit further than Archer there, so they make the call just to back away before anything gets too hairy there. I'm actually a little bit surprised that DFM were not able to capitalize off of that. A little bit of a misplaced Q from Gang means they weren't able to find the stun. And they kind of abandoned that play in the wake of it. And this is sort of the point of the game where V3, with 35 seconds on this Mountain Drake, you want to have as much vision control around the side of DFM as you can, because while DFM have great objective taking comps where you can throw a lot of spells out, make it difficult for V3 to walk forward, once V3 are in, they are in hard, and Boogie and Ace are happy to single out any member of DFM that they find at this point. With 2 items already being completed by Boogie, he is willing to destroy anyone who happens to be found in isolation. And here comes a Mountain Drake. DFM will likely just be starting this one up immediately, as they're going to want to burn this down as quickly as humanly possible. V3 are wandering in here. Here comes the Crystal Arrow. Finds his way onto Udapon. Is able to Arcane Shift to safety, but the W taunt's going to find so many members, as that might be the fight win for V3. They're going to try to run away here as Boogie's chasing down the Bard on the other end of things. And that's going to be a flash from Evi, but no safe haven is available for the side of DFM. V3 find 4. And that will mean their Mountain Drake is secured, as well as enough pressure to hopefully knock down a mid lane turret as well. A beautiful arrow snipe from Archer gives Ace all the time in the world to walk forward, find a beautiful taunt onto multiple members. And then at that point, that was all DFM could really do to hang into this fight. Tempered Fate's going to come out to try and buy this turret some time. They will knock it down in the end, as Gang's going to try and harass and slow as long as possible. That's going to be a Ziggs ultimate flying in, and it looks like Paz is trying to be the sacrificial lamb, but with Evi all in onto Archer and Reyna, will he be able to solo him out? He will, with the E to pop out onto Archer there, and now V3 are the ones kind of being routed here, overstaying for the turret, but Boogie's looking to try and make the most of things, as that's going to be Paz knocking up the Bard and knocking him down. Boogie still looking for opportunity, but can't exactly all in, as he doesn't have the follow-up to work with. He is going to go in for steal here, narrowly not going to knock him down, but has the R move speed to help jump away. I do like that V3 never stopped looking there, and they were able to deter a bit, but the overstay there was not exactly what you're looking for. You don't trade over the most amount of gold, but it wasn't the best scenario to be found in. We'll watch this fight around the Drake once more, as the arrow snipe onto Udapon means he's CC'd for about 2 whole seconds. Well, that's Ace coming in, a 4-man taunt onto the lines of DFM, and then at that point there is nothing you can do but run away, while V3 are just here to enjoy their time handing kills over to whoever they deem worthy at their own leisure. And this was just sort of V3 kind of trying to greed out a little bit too hard. Of course you want to stretch your gold lead as far as possible, but there's just so much slow and catch that they have, and Gang is able to kind of stick onto Archer this whole time. Paz tries to make the call to be the sacrificial lamb and just zone members of DFM, but Evi coming in off the teleport kind of makes that go belly up. And Boogie returns to try and make the most of things. Jumps right onto Evi, finds a kill there. While the big tanky Ornn finds his way to knock down a Bard. Flashes away from Yutapon, who actually had Yutapon had his glacial fist, or his frozen fist there. Glacial fist, excuse me. He would have been able to slow and potentially offer a lot of setup for his team, but he is going for the Trinity Force this time. Wants that extra damage, and I kind of have to disagree with the build here. Setting up your comp to do their job a little bit more effectively might be more beneficial, as Evi is wishing he had some slows of his own to keep this big beefy Ornn off of him. As Boogie's going to be wandering down here, there is no vision to tell if Evi is safe here, and he knows it, so he's going to back away, far away from that outer mid turret. As Boogie's going to lurk around in the jungle there. That's going to be Tempered Fate thrown down onto Archer. He does have Flash this time, but he's just going to go down before it matters. A good catch from the Tempered Fate now, as V3 are looking to try and find their escape here. Boogie's showing up just to pose a threat, but he can't really engage on a lot of this. DFM have to respect him, but they don't offer a whole lot. As Archer getting caught there won't mean the most for DFM, as Baron is not a realistic objective for them just yet, and Mountain Drake is still a little ways away, but the kill is nice, and you will have your cooldowns back up before the Mountain Drake is available. It was just sort of a situation of the map state doesn't entirely benefit DFM, where you already have a Kha'Zix lurking around your blue side, and you can't set foot in it because there is a 7-0 Kha'Zix lurking around your blue side. With the complete lack of vision on DFM's own side of the blue side of the jungle, they really just had. The kill is nice, but they can't even set up vision around the Mountain Drake because of it, so they clear up some of the vision around Baron, and they kind of take that as a consolation prize. But you can see V3 already showing back up in force to make sure their vision is strong and healthy around this Mountain Drake. They'll look to grab this one up. 15 seconds on that clock. DFM will have a little bit of time to grab some mid lane prio before anything gets too hairy, but DFM thinking of opportunities here. They might just be able to drag V3 around here, as they don't want to give up the mid lane turret for this one, but another Tempered Fate onto Archer, this time a little bit harder to capitalize off of, as the Q goes wide and the mine grenades don't exactly find their mark either. Paz doing his best to zone away from now, as Archer's going to be the one starting up the Drake. They're kind of baiting that Boogie is in the Drake pit, but he's looking for an opportunity. He's going to jump in onto Saros here, throws his damage down there. Gang is going to be going very low, but Boogie's going to be forced to back away as Ace, the ultimate, going to buy a lot of space. The taunt is good, and they're going to find two members, while the rest of DFM are a little bit too low or a little bit too fragile to be able to continue this fight, and not going to be able to reach the Magical Voyage in time. Saros is going down as well. And that is going to be V3 making the call to grab up this Baron. And I like this call to not greed out for the Mountain Drake as well. Grab up the Baron, use that pressure to grab up the Mountain Drake. Afterwards, you can even give it over to DFM, as giving them soul point when you're this much stronger is not a bad position to be in. So that will be Baron secured for V3 Esports as they look to take a reset here. Doesn't look like DFM are going to be trying to rush down this Drake in the meantime. They are setting up a decent amount of vision, but Steel heading his way towards the opposite end of the map. They're just going to try and weather this storm of a almost 9k gold advantage now in V3's favor, as well as Baron. And at the point V3 are at where you're going to try and start sieging now, with Baron, it becomes... There's advantages and disadvantages for DFM, where you've just found a couple potential picks, or you had pick opportunities through throwing out the Tempered Fate, finding a lone Ashe, has worked for you in the past. Well, hold that thought. Well, rewatch this fight one more time, and honestly, it was really on to Boogie just to sow discourse in the line of DFM, as they're just forced into a full retreat so quickly, and the less mobile members of their comp kind of get hung out to dry. But what I was going to say about the siege potential from V3 Esports is you lose the opportunity to throw out Tempered Fates at your leisure, because it's very easy for Paz to counter a Tempered Fate by throwing out his ultimate and just zoning away members of DFM. Ace can easily go forward in those moments. With everybody on the same page, it's a lot harder to find those picks. That being said, does give opportunity for Seros and Yudupon to hopefully try and sling enough spells that sieging becomes difficult for V3 Esports. Well, the members of V3 are trying to just set up a little bit of a 1-3-1 here, sieging into all lanes, and that's going to be knock up onto Evi. The arrow's just barely not going to land there, but the Ram will. The auto does so much damage, as Ornn just pretty much solo kills Evi. There was not a whole lot of assistance needed by his teammates. He's going to take it back here and teleport back with full HP. His Archer's going to eat a Tempered Fate, but this is exactly what we were just talking about, where there is no way you can capitalize off that by running through Reyna and Paz to get to him. While Boogie and Ace are looking at the mid lane, the top lane is being sieged down by 3 members of V3 Esports. Seal trying to do his best to be the tank that he needs to be, as Reyna's going to pop Stoneblade. He should be going down here pretty soon, but the heroic entrance is going to buy him a bit of space. Seros just already got obliterated by the Kazakhs. He go 1 for 1 there, but the kills traded back for V3 are in their favor. It's a 1 for 3 overall, and they might be able to try to end the game off of that, as Paz is still well too healthy to try and be moved here. It'll at least mean 2 inhibitors for the side of V3 Esports if they go for the game, and remains to be seen. They have quite the big minion wave. An extra one being towed in here. The knockup goes in. It's got to find its way onto the bar. The taunt to follow up means he has no escape. Now the ultimate Hemoplague thrown down by Evi. He's going to try to at least knock down Revi to pad his KD8 stats. Revi, I threw their names together there for a moment, but it does not matter. As DFM, these kills are just too disconnected. Seros respawning now will be enough that V3 say, alright, we'll take our reset. No need to greed out harder than we need to. But with the state that DFM are in, 12k gold disadvantage, 2 more inhibitors, or 2 inhibitors freshly destroyed. V3 are in a bit of a harrowing position overall, and you can just see across pretty much every lane that V3 has, they have almost a full item advantage, and it's just, it is a big ask for DFM to really find their way back into this one. They did find a couple good catches, but V3's team fights have just been absolutely on point. They have all of their members where they should be, and it's not like DFM were attacking the side lanes aggressively enough that V3 ever felt on the back foot. They were pretty much blow for blow on the side lanes. The extra 15 kills came when V3 engaged on every 5v5 that they ever wanted. And DFM have just been struggling to get anything started up here. They can kind of clear out a lot of these waves now. No Baron means it's a lot easier to burn through those minion waves, but with Mountain Drake up in 25 and Baron soon to follow, will be likely V3 picking up one after the other and looking to put a nail in this one. I don't want to count DFM out just yet, as they are still DFM, but this is one of those games that I think I've commonly criticized a little bit in the LJL of their lack of hard engage or lack of good engage tools. You do have Gang, and when he was able to find engages, it worked out for them. Archer did find 2 deaths because of the Bard ultimate, but it always kind of required the right circumstances to be set up. You need to have enough information to go for those plays, and if you're not finding any other value on the map other than occasional stray kills that aren't even turning into objectives, you're going to just slowly lose the vision war until V3 just choke you out of this game. As V3 are trying to set up as deep of vision as they can. They want all the room in the world before they start up this Baron. They're just going to take a few camps away, leaving DFM no reason to be on this side of the map other than that they need to deter from this Baron. And that's exactly the situation you want to set up. You want this to be as detrimental to DFM's time as you can get it. But Baron will just be knocked down here for V3 Esports. They're going to take one final reset before they look to end this one off in a convincing fashion. I don't think V3 needs to wait for Soul here. They could possibly if they really wanted to, but with a 12k gold advantage and all of the priority in the world, V3 will likely just be trying to find their victory here. Boogie gonna be taking that Scuttle Crab as an afterthought, just does so much damage already. There's not a whole lot any of the squishy members of DFM can do. Where, what deterrent do you really have to an assassin in this comp? Where you can arcane shift away, maybe you can satchel charge away if you don't end up knocking the Kha'Zix along with you, and you have pool, but you're not removing the threat. You're just kind of delaying what feels to be the inevitable Kha'Zix assassin, while you still aren't dealing with the rest of the team. And the sieges continue. That is going to be the top lane inhibitor going back down as Boogie's trying to get the bot lane inhibitor, or the mid lane inhibitor as well. As the next Baron wave comes in, Ace is just here to empower the minion waves going into the Nexus, saying, I'm just here for support, I don't need to do a whole lot. Finds a taunt onto Evi, but nothing that even needs to be capitalized off of. Here comes Call of the Forge God, Crystal Era, but not gonna get a steal out of trouble just yet. He will almost find Evi there, barely not gonna finish him off, but this is where V3 can really just make the call to finish off this game. They can focus down at the Nexus. There's just not enough damage on the side of DFM to close this one out. And V3 will continue their hot streak. So my quality goes down the drain here for a moment. Do apologize for that one, but not like it was anything we didn't know was already going to happen. V3 Esports going to be coming out on top of this one. That's going to be another win for them, and DFM now going to 4 and 5, I believe are tied with Burning Core. Let that sink in for a moment. And we'll hope that for DFM, they're really going to be racking their brains about how they bounce back from a lot of this during the break here. They have a lot of time to think about it before their next game. V3 and CGA are going to be next up to bat here. And V3 have one final challenge before they go undefeated for another week. We'll see how they pull things off. All of that being said, I will be taking a brief break as well. Thank you all again for tuning in. It really does mean the world to me that you guys are stopping in. And hopefully, if you guys are enjoying the stream, feel free to drop a follow. It does mean a lot to me. And hopefully I'll be able to hang in here for these last 3 games. Don't go anywhere. I will be back shortly.
まあその硬さを奪うことができますね、アルティメットで。ですから、はい。